So where did it really all start? Was it with the folklore that endeared itself to our hearts? Or the tales that we listened to as we sat under the moonlight, surrounded by nothing but the chirp of the crickets and the eerie sound of the night? Was it with the myths and legends that wove itself into the very fabric of our religion and culture? Or was it with the lessons from the stories about the tortoise that we could capture? Did it start there, or were all these just a harbinger of literature out of Nigeria? Yet what does it matter? Why do we care? Is it not enough that our rich literary history has led us here, to a point where we're surrounded by stories and poems and essays, voices of Nigerians, by Nigerians, revealed to us in so many ways? When Tutuola gave us a story, they called it drunk and a ridicule of the white man's English. Yet, the same white man would later go on to widely publish and take the glory for a story carved from the crucibles of the Nigerian fetish. But this was just the beginning, not a full stop. The Achebes and Soyinkas emerged, this fine crop, Okri, Clark, Okibo, writing across religions and cultures, Yoruba, Hausa, and Igbo, telling the story of Nigeria and its peculiar experiences, forming the core of readership in schools and colleges, Osofisan, Emecheta, Ilechi Amadi, Sarawiwa, writers of the struggle against oppression and gender discrimination, stories and poetry that inspired a new consciousness, that preached emancipation. And soon, another crop of literature emerged. They called it the third generation, spearheaded by a younger demographic, writing without fear, disregarding form or piety, slapping at various themes here and there, irreverent of the traditions of explaining Nigerianness in italics and footnotes, some literary aggressiveness. But with this generation, there are no lines, nothing sacred, no theme too sublime, no foreigner seal of acceptance needed to publish, ubiquitous. The Adichis and Habilas, the Elnathans and Sephiatas, the Idumas and Braithwaites, the Coles and Unigwes, and the ever-emerging crop of writers constantly publishing in chapbooks and magazines, winning the Bookers and Canes and other things. History written to accuracy, culture revived, and in the very skin of our literature, the Nigerian reality is described for what it is. Nnedi, telling of Africa's science hue. Akweke, reclaiming Afro-indigenous spirituality too. History written to accuracy, culture revived, and in the very skin of our literature, the Nigerian reality is described for what it is. Nnedi, telling of Africa's science hue. Akweke, reclaiming the Afro-indigenous spirituality too. Abubakar, bearing the untold stories of the North, and we cannot forget poetry. No, not with its importance and worth. How the Fagunwa era evolved into Titilope, Dike, Efe, and Sage, and the many other poets that grace the Nigerian poetry stage, as well as those who write poetry for the page. And this literature is not just read in schools or literature classes, but in the back seats of cars, in the corners of pews in churches, in markets, in Lagos traffic. From the 18th century smattering of folk tales at twilight, to the short story writer's piece on Brittle Paper's website, Nigeria's literature has outlived itself. And with each newcomer, there's always a new story to tell.